I had diabetes. Of course, I didn't want to have diabetes. Why not, right? Like, what was it about my life that I loved enough that I was willing to go through this in order to experience it more completely? Not what did I hate about my life enough, because I was done hating myself, and I was done hating things about myself. I wanted to go not away from hating, but towards loving things about my life and myself.
Welcome to How I Lost It, where we learn the stories behind some of the biggest weight loss successes. I'm Marley Ficalora. Now let's begin our interview.
Hey, Adam, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. You look great. That's just first
Thank
thing
you.
I noticed right away was, wow, man, you're looking good.
Thank you.
So let's talk about this. First thing I want you to do is just kind of introduce yourself. Tell us a little about who you are, where you're from, and your journey to gaining the weight. And I guess we'll go through all that. But first, just introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Adam Sudd. I live in Austin, Texas. I am a seventh generation Texan. So you'll hear in my story like how I grew up on burgers and barbecue. So it's been a long time. It's been a long journey from where I was to where I am now. But I work for a group called Mastering Diabetes, and we are a group that helps people reverse insulin resistance through the use of low-fat, whole-food, plant-based nutrition. We're an online coaching program. We've had about 3,000 people go through our program, and we work with everybody who is either, whether you're healthy and you want to avoid diabetes, or any type of blood glucose issue on the spectrum of diabetes, whether it's type 1, type 1.5, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes. We work with all of it, and we help people get their health back.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I think that's so great. Were you diabetic?
I was, severely type 2 diabetic,
Oh, wow. And now you've reversed it. You don't have any diabetes.
Nope, no diabetes.
That is amazing, man. All right, so let's talk about. Look at that smile.
Sure.
That's exciting, man. So many people taking so many medications and so many pills and going through so many. It's just really hard. And I get messages all the time. I know you are, because you're coaching people. You're dealing with people that are going through this every single day. So to see someone reverse it, to see someone smile, man, that smile is worth $1 million. Okay, let's talk about how you gained the weight. What were you eating? I know you're saying you're from Austin, Texas, big barbecue place. Just kind of walk us through, what was your daily food intake like?
So, I growing up, I always had like self-image issues. So I can remember when I was a little kid being a closet eater and being criticized for wanting to eat, the bad food. And I felt like inherently that there was something broken in me, that there must be something wrong with me for not being able to avoid what everyone else seemed to be able to avoid so easily. And my struggles really began with substance abuse. I was put on Ritalin at a young age for ADHD, and this further confirmed this idea that I had that I was broken. And whenever there was something wrong with me, I needed to hide it with a substance. And in high school, Ritalin became Adderall for me. I got put on Adderall, and I remember the first time I used it as a recreational drug. Boom, that was it, man. It seemed to fix everything that I thought was broken in me. I was a little bit overweight in high school, but not really. But Adderall is amphetamine, that's what it is. So that was taken care of. I didn't have a lot of friends in high school because I moved from Houston to Austin, and right before I started high school. But when I was on Adderall, I had all this confidence. I could talk to anybody I wanted to. I was, people were always excited to have me at their parties because I had Adderall to hand out, and it really worked for me in high school. My relationship with my dad, because I didn't have great work ethic, but when I was on a lot of Adderall, I did. And so it fixed my relationship with my dad. It fixed my weight issues. I got friends. I had girlfriends. I mean, I got a scholarship to the school that I wanted to go to. And in college, things just took a turn, man, because I started to need more of the drug. And that need for more of the drug became the most important concern in my life, to where I dropped out of college and ended up becoming a criminal drug addict, where I was doctor shopping. I was forging prescriptions. I was dealing and stealing and buying stuff on the street. And I would scam anybody at any time to get what I needed in order to get more cocaine or Adderall, whatever it was going to get me out of the real world, out of my real life, and just numb me up. And I was consistently treating my family like garbage. And I developed a secondary addiction to fast food as a result of just constant isolation and depression. And when I say I struggled with eating with eating issues, binge eating issues, I would get up in the morning and I would go to a place called Torchy's Tacos. Now I get 4 of their potato, egg, and cheese breakfast tacos. Then I would go to McDonald's and get 2 supersized double quarter pounder meals. Then I would go to a place called Whataburger and get the extra large honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich meal. Then for dinner, I get an extra large pizza from Papa John's with a side of the chicken strip and the honey mustard dipping sauce. Then at about 3 in the morning, I go back to Whataburger for 3 of the breakfast on a bun sandwiches with sausage. I drink about 15 sodas a day. And when I say I was struggling with substance abuse, the average prescription for Adderall is around 20 milligrams per day. I was doing 450 milligrams in a 24-hour period. I would do that for about 6 days straight where I wouldn't sleep. I'd end up in the throes of a drug-induced psychosis where I'd be hallucinating. I wouldn't know what was real. I wouldn't know what I was saying a lot of the time. And I would end up having to pop painkillers in order to bring myself down. And it was at about this time, my weight reached about 350 pounds at the highest. And it was at about this time that, one of my family members who I was, the only time I would talk to my parents was to either scam them out of money or to blame them and shame them for everything that was wrong in my life. And even though I was, treating them so poorly, they came to me and they gave me an option. They offered me the opportunity to attend a 7-day event hosted by Rip Esselstyn, who is the author of the Engine 2 Diet. He was part of Forks Over Knives. And I didn't have any intention on listening to anything this guy had to say. Like, I did not want to hear what he had to say. I didn't give a crap about what they were selling or what they weren't selling or any of that stuff. The only reason I said yes was because I knew that if I did, my parents would keep giving me money. So I went to this 7-day event, and I was high the whole time. I had drugs on me the whole time. But something happened because I listened to everything that was being said. I listened to lectures by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Michael Clapper, Doug Lisle, all these visionaries in what we now know as lifestyle and preventative medicine. And I listened to them say that if I were to adopt a plant-based diet, I could reverse chronic Western disease and make myself heart attack proof. And it spoke to this really core value in me of being a compassionate person. And living a compassionate lifestyle and treating other non-human animals with respect. And I wanted to leave there and take a hold of this lifestyle, but I just wasn't desperate enough. And I have an identical twin brother who I'm really close with. And I can remember having a conversation with him about a year before that, where I was saying, Bobby, that's his name, things are really, really tough for me right now. And, but I want to promise you that no matter how bad things get, I'll never commit suicide, because I know that I could never live without you, and I don't want you to live your life without me. But I would routinely stand in front of the mirror with my shirt off, and I'd look at myself. Like I mentioned, I was living like a hoarder. I wasn't showering for months at a time. I'd stand in the mirror. I'd see this body that I didn't even recognize as myself, all these stretch marks and these rashes that were developing under the folds of my skin. And I'd just start beating myself as hard as I could over and over and over again. And I'd look at the mirror and I'd say, I hate you every time I hit myself. And I just figured, you know what? Things are never going to get any better. And I might as well just spare myself and my family all the misery that I've caused and will continue to cause. And on August 21st of 2012, I attempted suicide by drug overdose. And I woke up unconscious on the floor in a puddle of my own vomit, surrounded by empty pill bottles and a pile of fast food garbage. And I had nearly died at the age of 30 from a life of self-abuse, self-hatred, and denial. And I came to this very clear realization that if I didn't radically change everything about the way that I was living my life, that my family was going to spend the rest of theirs asking themselves why I needed to eat and drug myself to death. And I decided that I wasn't going to let that happen. If for whatever reason I survived, it was at the very least an opportunity to prove to myself that there's such a thing as a comeback. And I picked up the phone and I called my parents and I asked for help. I checked into rehab where within 72 hours I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, erectile dysfunction, bipolar disorder, suicidal depression, anxiety disorder, sleep disorder, and attention deficit disorder. I was put on a cabinet's worth of medication, and I had never been so humiliated in my life, because I knew that the majority of what I was hearing was a result of how I chose to live my life. The things I chose to put on my plate, the high-risk behaviors I chose to engage in, and the constant denial of every emotion that I was uncomfortable with feeling. And I wanted to quit, and I wanted to leave because it was too overwhelming. But I picked up the phone and I called my dad and I told him, I said, I'm leaving. And he said, what do you mean you're leaving? You haven't even been there a week. And I said, Dad, I thought all I had to do was get off the drugs. And now I found out I have diabetes, I have heart disease, I have all these other things that I don't know how to deal with. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, Adam, let's just say for the sake of argument that the doctors are right. Well, you learned at the Engine 2, the Rip Esselstyn event, that all of these things are reversible. And not only are they reversible, you know how to reverse them. And if there's something about your life that you don't like and you can change it, then it's not a problem. And he helped me learn in that moment that because I was the problem, I get to be the solution. I didn't have to wait for anyone or anything in order for me to start taking charge of my life. And I left rehab and entered a sober living facility where I decided I was going to adopt a plant-based diet and build the backbone of my recovery on that. And I can remember being pissed. Like every single day I'd get up and I would go to the pantry and I'd open it up and there would be two options staring me in the face. One is Fruity Pebbles, which I freaking loved Fruity Pebbles. And the other was oatmeal. And I knew exactly what would happen if I continued to eat the Fruity Pebbles. I knew that it would continue to fuel these diseases and I would end up dying, sober or not. That was the 5-year plan for me. Even if I was sober, if I continued to eat that way, I was going to die. I also knew that if I ate oatmeal, it would start to reverse the chronic diseases I was dealing with and help me lose weight and help me find self-love and self-care. So why in the world did I not want to eat the oatmeal? Why, when I knew that the Fruity Pebbles would continue to kill me, did I want them so badly in that moment? I was so frustrated with this idea that it couldn't simply be a matter of intellect and will, right? Why could I not just want to do it, know how to do it, and then that's it. Change happens, done. And luckily I read this book by Doug Lisle called The Pleasure Trap. It's co-authored by Dr. Alan Goldhammer, where I learned that there actually is a biological mechanism at play that was compelling me to continue to seek out foods that gave me the highest dopamine response, because dopamine is the chemical that gives us that excited euphoria that we call pleasure. And pleasure is our body's way of saying that we've done something that's biologically beneficial for us. It doesn't understand the modern environment because we didn't evolve from it. So when I eat Fruity Pebbles and pop Adderall, my body literally goes, bravo. That's got to be the best thing you've ever done for yourself, because that pleasure response was so high, and everything we know about our evolution says that when you find something that's that calorie dense or that pleasure responsive, it's got to be the best thing you've ever done. And I remember this immense amount of shame being lifted from my shoulders when I read that, because it helped me realize that the reason why I felt so compelled to continue doing the wrong thing even when I knew it was wrong was because my body was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. That I wasn't broken, that there wasn't anything wrong with me. And that if I were simply willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable long enough, the oatmeal wouldn't be a chore. And if I could be comfortable being comfortable long enough, eventually I would look forward to it. And that was going to be my goal, to get up every single day and find a reason to be comfortable being uncomfortable long enough to change my life. And those reasons were not at all my diabetes or my obesity or my heart disease or my drug addiction or my suicide attempt. Okay, yeah, I was obese and I didn't want to be obese. Of course I don't want to be obese. I had diabetes. Of course I didn't want to have diabetes. Why not, right? Like, what was it about my life that I loved enough that I was willing to go through this in order to experience it more completely? Not what did I hate about my life enough, because I was done hating myself, and I was done hating things about myself. I wanted to go not away from hating, but towards loving things about my life and myself. It was about bringing in positivity rather than trying to remove negativity. And for me, it was, I wanted to be that authentic version of myself that could be with people that I loved and just be with them, not try to take things from them. Because when my life as an addict started, as soon as it started, I stopped being with people and I started using them. They were just cogs in a machine that I could get things from them in order to get what I really wanted, which was a substance to numb myself out of life. And I got up every single day and I made a decision between what I wanted now and what I wanted most. And what I wanted most was that authentic self. And it was reason enough for me to learn this lesson that a whole food plant-based diet, when I prepared that meal on a plate, that was an act of self-care. That was an act of self-love. That was me saying to myself that, you know what, today is about recovery. And if I do this, then I will end today healthier than I was the day before. And if I continue to do this, I can build a platform where no matter what, no matter how angry I am at the world, no matter how pissed off, whatever my emotional or psychological situation is, at the end of the day, I will always be healthier than I was the day before, and that can get me through anything. And in 3 months, my diabetes and heart disease were completely gone. I was off all my medications in a year and had lost over 100 pounds. And as of now, I've lost 200 pounds. And I've learned that it's worth it to experience the emotions that I have been trying to avoid for so long, because all those emotions that we call bad emotions, fear, anxiety, resentment, frustration, those are part of me. And to avoid and fight those is to avoid and the opportunity to learn everything there is about me and how I move through the world. And there's a great quote that says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit." If I were to get up every single day and be committed to living a plant-based lifestyle, if I were to get up every single day and be committed to the act of seeking that authentic self in recovery, and if I could get up every single day and be committed to being of service to other people, then at the end of the day, I can be a happy, healthy, sober person who's of service to other people. And that's the kind of person that I want to be. That's that authentic self that I'm looking for. And without the plant-based diet, I don't think I could have discovered any of these things about myself. I don't think I would have had that foundation to stand on where I can say, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm willing enough to sit in it in order to learn more about myself, gain that self-awareness. Just sit and breathe and let it happen. Don't fight it, because if I'm fighting it, I'm fighting myself. And October of last year, I got 6 years sober. And one of the best things was in 2017, my twin brother was 280 pounds and a type 2 diabetic. And I asked him to come live with me in Santa Monica. I was living in Santa Monica at the time. And he agreed. And I said, just live my lifestyle for 6 months. I guarantee you will reverse the diabetes. And his blood glucose numbers were in the healthy range within 6 weeks. He's now, as of now, lost 100 pounds. He's completely reversed his diabetes. He works with Sean Munson, the director of Earthlings. He's a producer and cinematographer on the new film with him, and he's become this incredible animal rights activist. And probably the greatest moment of my entire recovery was when my brother and I got back we spent some time living in an orphanage in Nepal. And he came up to me and he said, Adam, Joseph Campbell said that we're not so much looking for the meaning of life as much as we are the experience of being alive. And that's what you've given back to me. And wow. That one moment will be the best thing that I've ever done in my life. So I'm sorry, I rambled on there for a bit.
Don't apologize, man. That is amazing. It is amazing what you've gone through. And you've learned so much from it. And I'm sure everyone who's listening is learning from it as well. And thank you for sharing that.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, that's some hard stuff that you went through, and the amazing thing is that you were able to find a light at the end of the tunnel. So many people aren't. There's so many people struggling with drug addiction throughout our country, with food
Yeah.
addiction throughout our country. It is a tough time right now,
Yeah.
and to see people have a success story, to see people do so well, and come out with the thought process that you come out with this, and then the best part about this is that you're paying it forward now. You're helping others. Not
Yeah.
only did you help yourself, you look great. You've had that mental clarity. You've had this aha epiphany moment where you now, figured out to eat plants and take care of yourself and worry about your health first, and everything else will fall in place. But now you're helping others find that same sort of thing. So let's talk about some.
Sure.
All I gotta say, man, is awesome, awesome. So
Thank you.
proud of you, and I'm so proud of your brother. And you're so right. Celebrate your successes. Focus on the good stuff. Don't focus on the bad stuff. Because if you just try to fix problems, it's just going to be an never-ending cycle of trying to fix the bad, and it's impossible. I always say this: you can't be perfect. You can
You
only,
can't.
and everyone's unique and everyone's different. So,
Yeah.
so if someone else is getting faster results, if someone else is, has more problems or less problems than you gotta just focus on yourself. Focus on the good stuff. Think about like, hey, I can walk. Hey, I can see. Hey, I can hear. Hey, I have the ability to live, which is
Yeah.
it was pretty amazing in its own right. Think about how much has to happen for us even to be alive.
And think about it. If you're doing it to remove things about your life that you don't like or that you hate, our culture is always going to give you a reason to believe there's something about yourself that you don't like or shouldn't like. And eventually you're going to say, well, whatever it is I'm doing to get rid of this is not working. And you're going to quit because you're trying to make perfect the imperfect, which is not possible. And rather, if it's saying, I'm doing this, like, for example, I'm going to the gym because I love my body and I love my health and I want to get fit, right? Health happens in the kitchen, fitness happens in the gym, but I want to get fit. I want to move in a way that I've never done before. And you say that that's your motivation. And over the course of time, you feel your body doing things that maybe it's never done before or hasn't done in a long time. And it's not the end goal, but it's enough to say, wow, that's different, that's new, that's exciting. You're gonna attribute that to the changes that you've done, and that's gonna reinforce your love for those behaviors, right? It's so much about the behavior, not the result. If you can fall, like I said, I tell this to people all the time, if you can fall in love with the act of putting a low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet on your plate, everything else in regards to your disease reversal and weight loss is gonna happen.
Yep.
But the goal is to fall in love with it, because once that happens, it's done, man. It's like a good friend of mine, Dave Clark, said, it's great to want to change your life. It's great to want to become a new version of yourself, but it's more important to fall in love with the life that will get you there.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. You got to enjoy it. You
Yeah.
got to be mixing up vegetables, throwing in
Oh,
some
yeah.
nuts in a blender, blending things up. You got to have a good time with it, because if you're enjoying it, it is, and it's a psychological thing as well. As you continue to do something that's good, we're rewarded when we're younger when we do something good, and we're punished when we do something bad. So you need to make it a rewarding process. It's got to be something that's fun, exciting. You wake up and you're like, what am I going to put together today? And you can just even eat simple meals as well. Simple is always the best way to start.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I agree, it's got to be fun. So let's talk about your parents. So you're from Texas, right?
Yes.
And Texas is big barbecue, big Tex-Mex. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in Dallas for a little while. I love Texas. I love Texas Texans. They're very nice. They're very kind. But they also love their food. So
Love it.
tell me about what your parents ate and what you ate as a child
Sure.
growing up.
Yeah. So, I was raised Jewish, so it was
Yep.
burgers and barbecue and bagels and blintzes. You know, I grew up in a traditional, in a traditional household in Houston, Texas. We had fried chicken every Friday night. My dad was a marathoner. He was a captain of his high school basketball team, and then he was a marathoner in college, and was until he was 60 years old. Um, and so he always ate sort of healthy. We still had meat, but he had lots of salads and stuff like this, and he was always fit and in shape. And I just wasn't as a kid. I mean, I played a lot of sports. I played basketball and stuff, but I ate junk food all the time, and it was always in our house, like Fig Newtons and Doritos and all of that stuff. String cheese, dairy like crazy. Oh my gosh. I grew up in the 80s, so it was like the era of like the greatest childhood sugary cereal era of all time. I mean, Captain Crunch, Fruity Pebbles, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that was, And then in high school, because I had Adderall, I could eat whatever I wanted, and I did. I ate like McDonald's all the time and Taco Cabana and all that stuff. So
Yeah. So you gained this weight, and as obviously a result of the fast food, the
oh yeah.
sugary drinks, the refined carbohydrates, all that sort of stuff that we know adds weight to your body. So
Mhm.
after you gained this weight, and a lot of that comes from habit forming, from school lunches to family having that food around, to just
Yeah.
being used to a burger, like you said, burgers and bagels, and I forget the rest of the stuff, barbecue,
Yeah.
right? That sort of stuff. When you're younger, you have a faster metabolism. But not even fast enough anymore. Childhood and adolescent obesity is
Oh, it's
skyrocketing,
awful.
unfortunately. But in general, you do usually can stave it off until you're early 20s, mid 20s, and then you start to gain more of that weight
Yeah.
if you're lucky. But we form those habits so young, and we form such bad habits so young, it's very hard to beat them. But you had a moment, obviously, as you mentioned, as you described
Yeah.
your story, where you were battling drug addiction as well as food addiction, which are very similar. And you had an epiphany moment. Do you remember that day? Do you remember that time? I know you went to the conference
Yeah.
with Esselstyn, which is so great. And he's a Texan as well. Isn't he from Austin?
Yeah.
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 So
Well,
so
originally from Ohio, but he swam at UT. Yeah.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you had it. You went to his meeting. Was it that convention? Was it that 7-day seminar that gave you that aha moment, or where was that moment? Was it
Well,
before that you like kind of looked in the mirror and you said, "Hey, like I gotta change something about me. I gotta make a change." I know you had that really dark moment as well. That was
yeah.
obviously a big moment. But what was the moment you really said, like, I'm going to commit to this, and I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to enjoy this, and then we'll
Yeah.
see where it takes me.
So, I wish I could say that it was at the 7-day event that I went to, the Engine 2, they call it the Engine 2 immersion. I wish I could say it was that. I know that that's where I learned everything that I needed to learn in order to do what I did. And I wish I could say it was my overdose, my suicide attempt. But that was the moment that I said I got to get off the drugs. It was being in that doctor's office and listening to him say, your blood pressure is like 225 over 100 and something, and for the entire time that you're in rehab, every single morning you're going to have your blood pressure and heart rate checked because we're so afraid you're going to have a heart attack. My resting heart rate was 120. I mean, it was ridiculous how sick I was. My A1C was a 12. I mean, my fasting blood sugar was 390. And so for anybody that doesn't know, the healthy range for a fasting blood glucose is between 80 and 100. Mine was 4. And they're listening. You lose your eyesight, you lose limbs. I was 30 years old, already had erectile dysfunction because of the developing heart disease. We now know that that's the first indication in men for heart disease. And I just realized, getting sober was not going to be enough. Like I was going to die in 5 years, whether it was from drugs or the food. It was going to be one of them.
Yeah.
And that was my moment. I said, the addiction and the depression and all that stuff was really difficult for me to get a handle on because it's not trackable, right? I couldn't get up every single day and like prick my finger and see where I was on the, recovery scale. But I could certainly do that with diet and health, right? I could adopt this way of eating, and every week I could check my blood glucose levels, I could check my blood pressure, and I could check my weight, and I could see the results of the positive changes I was bringing into my life, and I could use that to build some self-worth. I mean, I remember when I was at the doctor's office at month 6, the endocrinologist, and he came back in and he said, your A1C is no longer that of a diabetic. You're no longer diabetic. And I felt, for the first time in a long time, self-worth. And it was just enough self-worth to let me believe that I was worth saving. Like that this feeling was worth it. This moment of knowing that I could actually take charge of my health and I could have health by choice, not by chance. Like this was real, and I did this. And yeah, I would have to say that doctor's office was the culmination of several moments that
Yeah.
were those aha moments.
Yeah, I think that's how it usually happens. There's a seed that's planted. It's something that you see or something that you do, like you're going to that event, and then later on it's reinforced. But I do see a lot of people, and more so now than ever before, as more doctors learn about the power of what you eat. and the effects that it can have on your health, because
Yeah.
it was mind-blowing that we don't pay more attention to what we eat, because
It's crazy.
it's we only have so many given set of circumstances. We have
I
to
know.
drink, we have to eat, and that's really about it. We have to go to the bathroom, right? There's not that many things that we technically have to do that we're
Right.
given. And one of those things is eating food. We have to do it. If we don't do it for an extended period of time, we die.
That's
So
right.
why do we not pay attention to what we're putting in our body? We care about the clothes we wear. We care about the cars we drive. But I do see a lot of people having that aha moment, especially with people that are following me, when their doctor tells them, you are now diagnosed with diabetes.
Yeah.
Or their doctor tells them, you have a form of cancer. Or their doctor tells them, you now have a predisposition for heart disease, or you've had a heart attack, or you've had a stroke. I see a lot of people coming to this after it's too late, but it's not too late. That's the important part about it. But a lot of people will say, oh man, what do I do? It's never too late. You can literally turn it around any day. If you're 95 or you're 25, doing this and starting this, you can regain your health. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, we have members in Mastering Diabetes who are 80 who are reversing their diabetes.
Yeah.
It's
never too late.
It's the same process. The age doesn't matter. I mean, a 20-year-old will more than likely reverse it quicker, but the same process happens. Age is irrelevant in regards to disease processes.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. I always say that, and it really is so true. And I love that doctors are getting on board and saying that as well. Because if you're 75, why not live until 105? Do you know what I mean? Like, you have
that's my goal. That's my goal.
You have so much life ahead of you, and you're just getting into your peak. You're wise, you're smart, and I think that's how people should live their old age, not with diseases like Alzheimer's and all these hard diseases.
Yeah.
And if they have that, I understand it's really hard. There's so many neurological diseases, and there's so many diseases out there that it makes it really challenging to be healthy. But if you got a chance, you better give yourself your best chance to live a healthy, happy life when you're older, because there's no going backwards. You can't reverse the clock. Only can give yourself the healthiest and best chance going forward from that day and that opportunity. So it doesn't matter what age you are, you can win back your health. But I love that doctors are out there emphasizing, and people like you and the people that you're working with, Mastering Diabetes, are emphasizing the importance of a plant-based diet, and that it does have an impact, that when you get that diagnosis, it's not the end of the world. It's not, okay, now I'm going to have to take medication for the rest of my life. Okay, now I've got this disease. What do I do? It's that there is opportunities, and medical professionals are the ones that have to be putting that word out there, because that's what people are trusting, and that's really only people who can give medical advice are medical professionals. So I really hope that they make the correct diagnosis, and they also refer eating healthy.
And they're the ones they're the ones diagnosing these people. So let's say someone does have a doctor and they go in and they get diagnosed with diabetes or heart disease, and the doctor is equipped well enough with the knowledge to say, by the way, this is reversible, and here's what we can do. And I guarantee you that if you do this, your health outcome will improve, guaranteed. It's still up to the individual. But one of the things I remember telling myself was that when I first got started I remember feeling like the idea of transitioning for the rest of my life was so overwhelming. I was 37 days sober when I got out of rehab. So the idea of even being able to see a month in the future was too overwhelming for me. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this for 7 days. I'm going to do this for 7 days. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit to eating these foods for 7 days. And if at the end of the 7 days, I'm going to keep what I found joy in doing and what worked. What didn't work or I didn't find joy in doing, I'm going to replace. But I'm going to replace it with another plant-based option or another form of movement, whether it's lifting and I didn't like lifting, I wanted to go running, I was going to try that. And then I was going to go another 7 days. And I was going to keep that up, because 7 days I could conceptualize, I could see it. It wasn't a lifelong commitment, it was an experiment. And I really see those first 5 years of my recovery as just a series of 7-day experiments that just kept going and going and going until I fell in love with the behaviors that brought the results. That's the other great thing about doing 7 days at a time, is that it forces you to focus on the behaviors rather than the results. And when you're focused on connecting to the behaviors, the results take care of themselves. And honestly, I think that's the most important thing, is that if you're doing something that will bring the results, then don't worry about when they happen. They will happen. But just find the behaviors that allow you to do those things and bring those things into your life that you enjoy doing. Like you said, it's got to be fun. It's got to be enjoyable. You got to wake up and be excited about it. Like I get up at 4:30 a.m. every morning because 5 a.m. is too late to wait for my oatmeal. It's just, that's too long. Like I just love my giant bowl of oatmeal with cinnamon and turmeric and a big bowl of mangoes on the side. Oh my goodness. I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it does get more and more fun as you go too, because you start to get the health results. Things start to happen. Your body starts to work a little better. Your energy starts to get a little bit better. You know, your skin starts to clear up a little bit. Your weight starts to go down. And as you start to see those results, it gets exciting. You start to say,
it gets really exciting.
You know what? There's something to this. And it gets more and more and more fun. So the fun level goes up as you go. But that's why you got to make it fun at the beginning. You got to eat foods that are whole food, plant-based, just the real foods. And if you're thinking, well, this is restrictive, I don't think so. I think there's more fruits and vegetables out there than anyone could ever try. So it's not limiting in any way. If anything, it's expanding your horizons. Most people only eat a couple meals that they stick to every single day. Think about people eat pizza,
they got portion
burgers,
control
French
and all
fries,
that stuff. You know, I don't portion control at all. I eat piles of food for every single meal, man. And there's no restriction to it. I mean, I've gained so much more as a result of this way of living than I could have ever imagined. It's not restrictive in the least bit. And that's the other thing. I don't avoid anything. I don't view this way of living, whether I'm talking about the drug use or the food, as an abstinence-based way of living. I don't get up every single day and avoid meat, eggs, dairy, and drugs. That's not the way I view it. I get up every single day and I accept the behaviors that no longer include drug use, and I accept all this incredible, beautiful produce that I love to eat, and I accept as much of it as I want. I eat till I'm satisfied, and I move my body in a way that I never have before. I mean, I never in my life did I ever think I'd be a runner, and I absolutely, it's the only way I can meditate. I meditate in motion. And I will go and I'll run as long as I can so I can get those moments during my run where I'm simply place, step, and breath, where I'm like that true, authentic self, just earth connected. And I never would have been able to experience that if not for this way of living. It's incredible what's happening. Like, do not put a limit on what you think or don't think you can do. Just do something new. Adopt this new way of eating. Adopt this new way of moving. Adopt a new way of thinking and see what's possible. It's incredible. Like, I'm telling you, like, I never would have thought this would have been me 6 years ago.
I think another really important thing, like you were saying, is I think is to challenge the status quo. Yeah. Just because you do something every day and you have a habit, why do you do it? That's important. I got to plug in my phone. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I got to take those earphones off. I got to charge my phone. Okay, so let's talk about another thing really quickly I want to talk about.
Sure.
Is, so you had that aha moment, and you're at a heavier weight than you would like to be at, and you want to reduce your weight. So what was the food you started to eat once you went and you made this dietary change? What were some of your meals when you started, when you really were focused on the weight loss aspect of it?
So when I made the transition, after I transitioned to the plant-based diet, I kept it super simple. I did oats in the morning. I did black beans with broccoli and some oil-free tomato sauce and as much fruit as I wanted. And that's literally what I ate every single day for 10 months. That's me. I needed it to work. And sure, I was trying new things along the way, but for me, like, I am to this day a lousy cook. Like, I'm just miserable in the kitchen. So I knew that if it was about trying recipes for me, I would get very frustrated and very resentful. So I wanted to find the foods that I like to eat the most. And look, to be honest, before I adopted this, the only piece of greens that I ate was the occasional piece of iceberg lettuce they forgot to take off my burger at McDonald's. Like, it just didn't exist. So I would always have black beans and broccoli and fruit and oats in my environment. I would always have them. And I would experiment with all different kinds of things on the side, but those were my staples. That's what carried me through that first year. Now, man, I mean, oats and potatoes, sweet potatoes, any variety of sweet potatoes. But of course, those Japanese and Okinawan sweet potatoes are my favorite. I got frozen jackfruit in my freezer right now that I make banana jackfruit and ice cream with. Unbelievable. Mangoes, all kinds of fruit. Sapote, which is just, have you ever had a black sapote?
I've never had a black one. The green one's more common, I think, in the in the grocery stores.
So the ones that are black on the inside, though, they're green and they're black on the inside, or they're white on the inside? Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. Yeah. And, but yeah, in the beginning it was, like I mentioned, it wasn't about portion control. It was about, because I read all the science of calorie density. So I knew that there was no way I was going to overconsume calories from broccoli and beans. It just was not going to happen. Certainly starting at such a high weight, it was never going to happen. And so I just ate until I was full, and I learned to listen to my body and, try to understand, was I actually hungry? Was I actually full? Was it just boredom or anger that was driving me to food? And if it was, well, great, because if I were to emotionally eat broccoli all day long, guess what? It was only going to result in positive effects in regards to my health. That was one of the great things about adopting a plant-based diet during an emotional recovery, was that I could, if I needed to, emotionally eat a low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet and still make positive change at the end of the day, until I was able to develop better tools for dealing with my emotions. But like I said, in the beginning it was beans and greens and grains.
That's awesome, man. And a lot of people are doing that when they try to battle food addiction, is going to like a mono diet. Even though it wasn't a mono diet, what you were doing, it was very specific. You knew exactly what you were going to eat. It was simple and very, very simple. And that's easier because you take the guesswork out of it. You know exactly what you're eating. That's what you're eating. That's it, until you get the results. And then you start to have some fun. Yeah. It's fun either way. But then you start to explore a little bit in the plant-based world.
And like I'm saying, it wasn't like, there was definitely, like once a month I go out for like a vegan pizza with some friends or something like that. But like 95% of what I ate was planned. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And it was for a purpose. Right? I wasn't trying to try every recipe on the planet. I was trying to allow my body to show me what it was capable of if I fed it a nutrient-dense diet for the purpose of reversing disease. That was the goal. I was going to find joy in that rather than all the amazing recipes, because I had the rest of my life to try those.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, when you're eating whole food plant-based, it's so high in fiber that it keeps you super full on super low calories. But you still do have to be aware, because if you're just blending up nuts all the time and eating only avocado, or if you're eating, a whole food plant-based diet, I think they also consider bread, whole wheat bread and whole grain bread and whole grain pasta. So there's still some pitfalls you can fall into. The most important thing you really need to do is what you were saying. You're eating greens and beans, and but you learned that from Esselstyn and all of them. Yeah. And the oatmeal. You're an oatmeal fan, which definitely
huge oatmeal
you're
fan.
On board with their program. And I love what they're doing. I think it's so cool that he's a firefighter.
Yeah, and I now work with RIP, so I'm a speaker for Engine 2. I've been a speaker at Plant Stock for the last 4 years, and I'll be speaking there again this year.
That's so cool. Yeah, he's great. Him and his dad is one of the real pioneers.
Oh my gosh,
plant-based moving. And so I'll talk about the plant-based movement really quickly, and then we'll go into. But thank you for sharing what you.
Yeah, of course.
I think that's very important for other people to understand what to eat, what not to eat. A lot of people go vegan; they eat vegan processed food. Yeah. Or like fake meat, fake cheese, and that sort of stuff actually makes you gain weight, not lose weight. And people here are trying to lose weight and also has some of the benefits and results that you had as well. And really, it comes down to you have to eat real food. There's no.
You have to eat real food. Avoid the added sugar. Avoid the added oils. Just don't use oil. Don't use refined sugars. Just eat plants.
Exactly.
Stay away. You can have nuts and seeds, but don't make them the bulk of your diet.
Exactly.
And anything that's refined, like a whole grain bread, is just going to be incredibly calorie dense. So just bear that in mind.
Exactly. Just eat broccoli's broccoli, carrot's carrot, banana's banana, apple's apple. One ingredient, nothing else added, no refined sugars.
That's right.
And it's so simple, and there's so many amazing meals. I made over 1,000 different recipes with fruits and vegetables, and I'm only using the conventional ones. I'm using organic as well, but I'm using conventional in terms of ones that are available at all the produce sections, because I want to make sure that everyone's able to do this. But there's thousands of fruits. There are thousands of vegetables. Yeah. There are opportunities that are limitless. Every single flavor you could have ever imagined came and was derived from plants. So there are opportunities beyond opportunities to have amazing, delicious meals. But you have to eat the real food. If you want to lose weight, you got to eat the real food. If you want to get those results, you got to eat the real food. There's no cheating. You can't, and you don't have to be so perfect. You don't have to put pressure on yourself. You said once every 30 days you went out and had a vegan pizza. Yeah. Chasing perfection is hard. But if you're at a point where you're really addicted to food, you should strive to eat only fruits and vegetables. Strive even to do closer to a mono diet, or have a really set, strict schedule, And that's why I do weekly meal plans, so that people have a set, strict schedule. Because if you're following that, it gives you less margin for error. Because when you are addicted to food and you make an impulse decision, and so many impulsive decisions made through addiction are usually not in your benefit.
First, that's what they tell us. They go, just always believe your first thought is wrong. Yeah. So whether it is or isn't the right thing to do, or it is or isn't the wrong thing to do, when you're first trying to overcome these, addictive behaviors, if it's an impulse thought, just think twice. Just go, what, is that really what I want to do right now? And then sit, breathe, and then respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take a second to think rather than make that decision. Mm-hmm. So you ate these amazing meals. You kept it really simple. You ate real food, whole food. Yeah. And I've seen thousands of people get those results that you've got the messages. You've seen thousands of people. We know this works. The pioneers, the doctors, Cornell, Harvard, these are big time scientists, big time doctors supporting this and backing this. The food pyramid backs it. Everything is backing doing this, and it's the simplest thing in the world. And I know it sounds so crazy that we all are here talking about. Who would have thought if we could look back on this 30, 40 years from now and say, look at them telling people to eat bananas. Of course you eat bananas. That's what we're supposed to eat anyway. Yeah. And it's so crazy when you really get into it. You really start to think about it. You're like, wait, we're just supposed to eat what was grown for us to eat? What falls from the trees, what grows in the ground was just literally made for us to eat. It's that simple.
It's amazing. I mean, me and Robbie and Cyrus, who are the co-founders of Mastering Diabetes, when we do our retreat in Costa Rica, where we help people come and we help them adopt a plant-based diet to reverse diabetes, at the end of the day, we'll be sitting in a room, they're like, you guys believe our job? We're telling people to eat plants and move.
Yeah. Eat real food. That's it. Just eat real food. Just eat the food that was literally made for us to eat. That's it. Yeah. Just put the square peg in the square hole. That's it. Everything starts to work. But as soon as you start to change that, you start to remove some of the compounds to make us more addicted to it, removing sugar from corn, removing the things that trigger those emotions and those reactions that make us addicted to it, and send off those endorphins and send off those receptors to say, hey, this is good, this is good. It's only saying it's good because it wants you to eat the fiber and the nutrients, but if you remove the nutrients and the fiber, it's giving you a false alarm.
It's amazing.
And that's what's causing all these problems. We figured out how to corrupt our food and trick our bodies and trick our minds, essentially.
And think about this. In nature, there isn't one single food that's grown from nature that is both high sugar and high fat at the same time. But we have tons of that in refined products. And they've done this for a purpose, because it's now triggering two dopamine pathways at the same time. What doesn't happen in nature, and your body just does not know what to do. It just says, that is gold. We've got to keep doing that. They know what they're doing. These food scientists know this. They've done this on purpose.
What's in every single meal? Salt, butter, and sugar. Salt, fat, sugar. Salt, fat, sugar. That is the key. They just go like salt plus fat plus sugar equals
addiction.
Better sex.
That's it.
And unfortunately, it equals worse health. Yeah. And that's the scary part, because you're out here advocating for it. I'm on here advocating for it. We want people to eat real food because you still get that amazing feeling. You still feel, awesome while you're eating it. But we want people to not have to sit in hospital beds like you were and get told, hey, look, you're going to die in a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 years, because we don't want people to get to that point. And I know in America, especially in the United States, and it's like the other countries too, but more so here than anywhere else, is we don't think about preventing things before they happen. We only think about things after they've already happened. So many people will not get an oil change, and then their car will break down. And then they'll say, okay, now I need to get an oil change. We'll take care of the car before that happens, and the car will still work. And that's the same thing that happens with our bodies, the same thing that happens with our teeth, right? So many of us, we'll forget to floss, we'll forget to brush our teeth, and we get a cavity. We say, oh, this is so expensive. Oh, man, why did I do this? Or I'm in so much pain, my gums are hurting. Or, oh, man, my cheek is swollen. And then we start to take care of it. We take care of it after the fact that it's already happened. And that's okay, as long as you do wake up and you take care of it and you get it. But only if you're lucky enough. So many people will suffer from heart disease and have heart attacks or strokes, and they won't get a second chance.
Yeah, you know what the number one indicator of heart disease is?
Yes,
sudden cardiac arrest.
Oh, cardiac arrest. There you go.
Yeah. That's it. That's the leading. That's what is the number one indication for all people. So men and women. The first sign of heart disease for most people is cardiac arrest.
Yeah, and there's 600. I think the last report I saw was 680,000 people die a year of heart disease. That's 680,000 amazing, amazing people that could be doing amazing, amazing things for our world, changing our world, that are passing away way, way too early.
It's so sad.
Disease that is so, so, so preventable if we eat the right foods before it happens. And it's sad because I'm sure you've met so many people from doing this, and I'm meeting so many people online or in person when they come up to me. But they are such good people. The people who are having this happen to them are the nicest, kindest, sweetest people. And it's just like, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve to have to pay for 15 medications. You don't deserve to have to go to the doctor every week. You don't deserve to be in pain when you get up, or have to struggle through life and feel like it's so hard. Like, it makes me.
And the worst part is because they don't know, because they've been lied to.
Yeah.
And so that makes it harder to see and harder to witness. You see somebody who is, I believe that most people, the majority of people on this planet, are true compassionate individuals. I mean, that's what separates, that's one of the things that separates us from a lot of other animal species on the planet, is our empathy for others. Now, I'm not saying that non-human animals don't have that, but we have a very high degree of empathy for other people. And that these people are good people. And they just didn't get the information because the system is stacked against them. And it breaks my heart. I mean, I had to watch my aunt pass away from complications of type 2 diabetes that she never took, she just didn't control it. She didn't change anything. She just ate herself to death, unfortunately. And she was in her 60s. She had a lot of life left to live. And she and I were really, really close. And it was preventable. It didn't have to happen. So it's a shame.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that it happened.
Yeah.
And I think it's so great that you are out there and you're advocating to prevent that from happening to someone else.
Yeah.
Because we could so easily sit back and again, it's dwelling on the negatives. Like, it's so hard when you lose a family member, because family is everything. Your health and your family, right? Those are the most important things in life. And when you lose a family member, it's so hard. But what do you do when that happens? My dad suffers from multiple sclerosis. He struggles every single day with just trying to walk and just trying to live a happier life. And he eats this way. He's been doing it from Dr. Swank for the last 30 so on years. And it's how do you give back after you figured it out? And that's kind of something that I think is so important, is that your aunt passed away, and her death was not in vain, because she's inspired you and helped you say, I'm not going to let this happen to anyone else. I'm not going to let this happen to someone else's cousin. I'm not going to let this happen to someone else's sister. I'm not going to let this happen to someone else's father or someone else's child or someone else, because it's happening. Type 2 diabetes is occurring in kids at a higher rate than it's ever happened before.
It's unbelievable.
So these kids, and this is a little bit of a digress from the weight loss stuff, but you see kids in schools suffering from obesity like never before, and these kids are going to have more of a hard time. They are so slowed down in their learning, and they're going to be paying financial expenses. They need to go to college. They need to be healthy. They need to live a long life. They need to be able to grow and learn. And so many of the kids being affected now, and this never happened before, it used to be that the royalty or the super rich would get sick and become obese or become diseased. And that would happen because only meat and dairy and bread and a lot of these processed foods were luxury items, and luxury items would only be held for the royalty. The lower class would eat fruits and vegetables, and so they would be skinnier and actually be healthier than the people who were richer. But the problem is we've now subsidized the foods that caused all those problems for people that used to be royalty or rich. The processed foods. We're subsidizing meat. We're subsidizing dairy. We're subsidizing McDonald's. We're subsidizing Taco Bell, because we're saying, well, people will starve. No, they will not starve. They will not starve because you're giving them the wrong food. You are hurting them rather than helping them. But we're subsidizing the disease that is killing the majority of people in our country. Yeah. And so
it's sad, because what that means is that the United States government is complicit in the leading cause of death of Americans.
Yeah.
And that's sad. And like, to what you're saying about, the diseases of affluence now becoming diseases of everybody. It's like Ray Cronise, who's this amazing NASA scientist who now is a food scientist and does all this incredible work in the plant-based space, has made this great statement that for the first time in human history, obesity is a symptom of poverty. Like, that's unbelievable. To honestly think about that those who have nothing are getting obese and sick.
Yeah, it's not fair.
No.
It's not fair. It's so unfair because, and a lot of it has to do with school lunch programs, it has to do with fast food, the affordability, and all that sort of stuff. We've made bad food too affordable and too accessible, and we replaced real food with bad food just so it has a longer shelf life, just so it's more convenient. I call it the convenient inconvenience, and it's because it's convenient because you can grab it quickly and you can get back to work, but it's inconvenient because the long-term health risks and the long-term health problems and all of the struggles that you will go through in your life are very inconvenient. So it's convenient inconvenience. It's convenient right now, it's inconvenient later. And we are currently in America facing the biggest convenient inconvenience that we've ever faced before. And
it's terrible.
It's biting back worse than it's ever been. And we need to go back to the basics, eat real food. We have amazing technology. I can talk to you via a web stream. I can talk to someone on the other side of the world right now. Our technology is limitless. We can go on our phone and research things and learn about a plant-based diet with the click of a button, with the tap of a thumb. We have technology with computers and airplanes, and we can travel like we've never been able to travel before. We can export and import amazing fruits and vegetables. Our technology has gone so far, and yet our food system is so broken.
It's so broken.
It's so broken, and all that technology doesn't do anything for us unless it's helping us eat real food, eat fruits and vegetables, because our bodies haven't gone as fast as our technology. And that's why you're seeing people have all these diseases from screens, or spending too much screen time, not going outside, mental health issues, and all that sort of stuff. We're evolving faster than our bodies can evolve and our minds can evolve. And I think that is a little scary. But so let's go back to what you're eating. But this is great. I love hearing this from you because you've gone through so much and it's made you so wise. It's like I always say, like, if you're in a river, there's a lot of rocks and you tumble down it. You might have been, rough on the edges when you first went down that river, and it was hard. You would bounce off some things, and there was challenges and obstacles as you went down it. But all those obstacles and challenges smooth you out and make you the person that you are today. And you have to go through struggles. You have to go through troubles in order to be a great person, because anyone that's not struggling, or anyone that hasn't gone through hardships, it's not possible. Life is hard. Let's be honest. No matter what you do, even if you're on a plant-based diet and you're skinny and you're healthy, you're still going to run through some bumps in the road. But it's what you do with those and how you make yourself a better person from them. Let's talk about. So you started to eat this plant-based diet. You figured it out. You started to eat some really good food. You inspired your brother. Let's talk about your parents. So your parents currently eating a plant-based diet. How are your parents doing? I know it's a personal question, but I think it's important for people to understand their families.
My parents have been 100% whole food plant-based for 2 years, along with my younger sister. And so my entire immediate family is 100% plant-based, which is fantastic. They love it. My entire family is now vegan, actually, so they don't allow any animal products into their home. My mom doesn't wear leather anymore. My dad doesn't wear leather anymore, and so it's been quite a transformation. And the thing is that it was all that happened 4 years after I made the transition, and I could have hounded them about it and said, well, you got to do this because it's the right way to live. And one of the things I've learned is that, at no point in my drug use did someone coming to me and pointing out everything it's like, you really think that I forgot that I'm a drug addict? You think that by 5 p.m. I forgot? No, I know exactly what I'm doing to myself, and pointing it out and saying that I need to stop and that I should stop and that if I'm bad if I don't, just made me need it more, because I'm feeling more and more disconnected from those bonds that matter in life. And so what I think is really important is for people who have family members that, if you are eating a plant-based diet and your family members don't, it's just, be willing to sit with them, whether they're doing it or not, and let them know that if ever they want it, you're there. That's all you have to do, is just be an example and let them know that who they are is not their behavior. And because of that, you will always love who they are, and you will always be willing to offer information if they ever choose to want to change their behavior.
Yeah, I think you have to lead by example, and you said it took 4 years. It takes a long time, but it will happen. They see that change is so powerful in people that it might be 2 years, it might be 4 years, it might be 10 years. Every person is different. But even without being pushy, even without being hey, you have to change, or oh, why are you eating that? Instead of doing that, why don't you just lead by example and say, hey, do you want to try some of this meal I made? Hey, I got this really cool meal I just made in the kitchen that's really fun. You want to try it? And just be, positive and reinforcing, and because they know at the end of the day you care about them, and that's why you're doing it. You care about them. You want them to live a longer life. You want them to be healthier. You want them to be happier. You want them to feel the way you felt from doing this after you woke up, after you came to this realization. But I think that's essential. Lead by example. Be a positive influence instead of a negative influence. Harping on the negatives or backing someone to a corner, telling someone they're overweight, telling someone that they're sick, telling someone this or that is not going to help them. It's not going to support them. They're not going to get to that point where it's fun. It's never going to be fun if you're constantly attacked. So don't attack people, but help them, support them, engage with them, and make it fun. And more importantly, focus on yourself, because how are you going to help someone else if you can't even help yourself?
That's it.
Yeah, so I always say put the mask on yourself. It's like the airlines. My girlfriend's a Delta airline flight attendant. So I always say put your mask on first. Take care of yourself. Get your mind right. Get your body right. Get your health right. Get in the groove of things. And then go out there and try to help others like you did. You took care of your addiction. You took care of your food addiction and your drug addiction. You then inspired your brother. You inspired your family members. You changed people around you. Not only did you heal yourself, you healed your whole family. So your importance of being here on this planet is so much more than you could ever believe, because you've gone beyond yourself and you've helped others. And that is, there's no other words to even describe the feeling of seeing someone smile and seeing someone happy and seeing someone lose weight, and the messages I'm sure you get from helping people turn things around it's better than anything else. I never knew something could be so great. I thought, oh, you make a lot of money, that's great. Or, oh, you have success, that's great. But nothing is better than the success of someone else turning their life around, smiling, sending you a message. Hey, man, I'm getting out of bed a little bit earlier. Hey, man, I lost this much weight. Hey, man, it's the best thing in the world.
It is. Like I said, the greatest moment of my life was hearing my brother say those words to me, that I gave him back the experience of being alive. And that's everything to me. I mean, no matter what I do in my life, and I know that I've got a lot of really exciting things ahead of me, it's never going to be better than that moment, because that was the most real thing I've ever experienced. Yeah. It's
amazing, man. It's absolutely amazing. So let's talk about what you're eating day to day now.
Sure.
Because you stuck to beans and grains and oatmeal, and you're the oatmeal guy. You can wake up early. No, I think that's
love
so
it.
great. Oatmeal is so filling. It's so satisfying. You can throw all sorts of different fruits to keep it flavorful and different every single day. You can throw some mangoes on there, some blueberries, some apples, some blackberries, some bananas. Oh man, you get the options are limitless.
It's so good.
You name it, you can throw it on top.
So
I'll
tell you, my favorite oatmeal is sweet potato oatmeal.
Oh, there you go.
If you've never done this before, you take a baked sweet potato and you mash it into your cooked oats. Dude, it's so freaking good. It's so freaking good. So
I've never done that.
Oh my gosh. And if you do a purple sweet potato and you boil the sweet potato and then you pour the water that you boiled the sweet potato into your oats with the potatoes, it turns the whole thing purple. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Rich, sweet, starchy flavor, and it's so filling.
So good.
And oats, talk about filling. That is fiber bonanza.
It is. So I start every single morning with a big bowl of oats. I make like 3 servings of oats, and I top it with cinnamon and turmeric, and then I have a side of mangoes or blueberries or jackfruit or some delicious fruit that I have. I always have a side of fruit, and that'll be breakfast. And then I'll have a snack after that of like 2 bananas or something like that on my way to work. And when I'm at work, I always bring with me a baked sweet potato with a side of greens and some more fruit. I love fruit. Like, I just love it. So I eat a ton of fruit during the day. And like right now, for some reason, I'm just all about frozen fruit. Like yesterday for lunch, I ate a 2-pound bag of frozen mangoes. It was amazing. It was incredible. Like the mango chunks in the frozen bag of mango. I ate a 2-pound bag of one of those for lunch. It was unbelievable. And dinner, lately it's been, I do a cauliflower lentil bowl where I do spinach, steamed cauliflower, black lentils, a little onion powder, garlic powder, and some curry powder. Dude, it's so good. It's so good.
Man.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Most people don't smile, even if someone who eats fast food or eats Texas barbecue. They don't smile about their food
Oh,
you smile about your food, and you know why? It's a multifaceted thing.
yeah.
It's because you love the way it tastes, but more importantly, you love the way it feels. Because you know
Yeah.
every single meal you are giving yourself a better chance. Like you said earlier in this podcast, is that you said, I knew that every day eating this way was going to make the next day healthier than the next. And I want to say something really quickly. I've actually never told anyone this, but even when things are going bad for me, because I'm doing these videos every single day, I'm in the produce section for over 450 days, eating this way. Even when something bad is going on, business troubles or whatever, everyone has ups and downs. That's just
Yeah.
life, right? Moving to a new apartment. There's all sorts of things in your life that you can't control that will go in a direction that maybe you didn't want it. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a learning experience or something that's going to move you in the right direction. Usually it's for the best. But everyone goes through bumps in the road. But when you're eating this way, it is so cool that no matter what, your health stays consistent. That
Yep.
I know even when I'm going through bumps in the road, even when everything else in my existential life or things that are outside of my control to go, I still know that when I wake up and I look in the mirror, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be smiling, and I know at the end of the day that's the most important thing beyond everything else, and that puts a smile on my face and says, all right, let's do it another day, let's attack.
Yeah.
And it's just that health. If I didn't have that health, man, I would go into a dark spiral. And so they said, there's a lot of studies coming out about mental clarity and mental health coming from eating this way, and I think that's a big part of it. It's just that there's one thing you control. There's one thing that's consistent, and it's your health, and you have a really good grip on it. You're giving your best chance to be healthy, and that's nothing better, man. Money doesn't matter.
And the thing that I like about it so much is like, as long as you're putting low fat, like just starches and grains and beans and greens on your plate, it's like almost impossible to get it wrong.
Yep.
There's no like perfect proportion of starches and grains to beans and whatever. Just eat until you're full. Eat a nice variety of different things, and you're not going to get it wrong. It's so simple. It's so simple, and it's so delicious.
Yeah, it's easy. It's fun. You save a lot of money, and you start to look like Adam, who looks so good. All right, I gotta get out of here, Adam. I gotta tell you, man, your story is so inspiring, and it'll be up on iTunes. It'll be up on Spotify and Google Play. It'll also be up on Facebook. You guys can watch it now, or you can rewatch the whole story. You guys gotta watch this if you haven't. Adam, man, you are the man. Tell us a little bit about where we can find out more info about you. I think a lot of people are gonna want to learn about you and go and follow you and continue on this journey with you.
So I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is plant-based addict.
Awesome.
So at plant-based addict. I also have a Facebook page by the same name. I am a diabetes and food addiction coach at Mastering Diabetes. So that's masteringdiabetes.org. And like I mentioned before, we help people reverse insulin resistance, which is the driving force for all blood glucose issues. I'm a speaker for Engine 2. I'll be speaking at Plant Stock this summer. So if you want to come and see me tell my story, I'll be there. It's you go to engine2.com and go to events, and you can look it up. We still have spots available. It's amazing. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn will be there. Doctors Dean and Aisha Sherzai, who wrote the Alzheimer's Solution. Cyrus Kambata, who's the co-founder of Mastering Diabetes, will be speaking. I believe Dan Buettner is going to be there. It's going to be an incredible event. Other than that, just like I said, Instagram and Facebook are usually where I'm most active.
Awesome. Well, I got to say, man, thank you so much for what you're doing for people. It means the most to me and to everyone that's following this. There's so many people out there that are sick and struggling and just need someone to point them in the right direction. And the more of us that are doing this, the more people speaking out for the power of real food. And I know it seems so simple. Once you have the aha moment, once you have the epiphany, once you've lost the weight, once you start to get the results, it becomes so simple. It's like, oh my God, how did I not figure out that I'm just supposed to eat fruits and vegetables? It's crazy. It's crazy how simple it is. But there's so many advertisements, there's so much confusion, there's so much misdirection, there's so much parenting giving out junk food, there's so much school lunches giving out junk food, there's so little real food being presented to people in real life. You go on an airplane, the food's not healthy. You go in a hospital, the food's not healthy. You go in anywhere you go, the food is not healthy except for the produce section or a garden or a farmer's market. So
That's it.
It's essential that we speak out and we start to fight back and we start to give people a chance to live a healthier life, because this thing's going to spread like wildfire. Next thing you know, people are going to be healthy and happy and living a great life again. And there's nothing better.
I hope so.
It's happening, man. There's no stopping us.
No, definitely not.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you so much.